The Conjuring is one of the most famous horror movies ever. A possessed mother, vulnerable little girls, and a bloodthirsty witch haunting a family are assured ingredients for cinematic success. However, what would you do if we were to tell you that the infamous witch, Bathsheba Sherman, existed in real life? Indeed, Bathsheba lived in the 19th century in Rhode Island. Married to Judson Sherman in 1844, Bathsheba was said to be attractive and popular during her youth. However, disturbing rumors concerning dead children, some of them her own, mistreatment of farm laborers, and deals with the devil surrounded Bathsheba. From the death of an infant she was looking after, next to a child dying after a mysterious fall from the stairs, to the strange suicide by hanging from a farm laborer, the farmhouse where Bathsheba lived is said to be haunted until today. Why are so many people saying that the farmhouse located in Burrillville, a small Rhode Island town, is haunted? What exactly makes the witnesses' testimony sound so genuine? Because, after all, if so many people coincide on something, can we say that there is a certain degree of truth in it? Let's then listen to this disturbing anecdote of childhood mischief that a fan shared with us. The fact that Kenyon's farm was messed up is something I can assure you from personal experience. I grew up in Burrillville between the 50s and 60s. Most of the inhabitants were already familiar with the tale of Bathsheba Sherman, and as you can expect from children who grew up in times when TVs weren't common, the idea of a haunted farmhouse posed a terrible attraction to most of the children of my age. Back then, it was what you had to entertain yourself. My older sister and I would spend hours pondering about Bathsheba Sherman's ghostly folklore. The morbid fascination we had with the house soon turned to fear the afternoon my sister and I decided to aid who we thought was an injured person. Returning from the market, we were surprised to hear an acute, feminine voice crying. Surrounded by trees and grass, we stopped to look around. In the end, we began to demand to know what was going on in a loud voice, at least to let whoever was creeping out there know that we were listening. A ghost in our town? Only to entertain ourselves. A thief or something worse? That was much more realistic. In the end, my sister and I both stepped into the property. We followed the direction of the sounds. We caught glimpses of small shapes squirming and moving. 2 coyotes growled, then sprinted away. It was a strange behavior, and stranger was what we found. The gruesome sight of a lifeless coyote and her dead pups. The animal was laying on its back, the tummy gutted open. It was a pregnant one. The remains of the unborn puppies were scattered around. Everything was blood, flesh, and fur. The mother even lacked an eye, which was hanging out from the socket, not fully separated. I was around 10 years old at the time, and my sister still made a weak attempt to shield me from the vision. It was useless. The night of the dead mama coyote and her unborn puppies, gutted open with the contents sprawled around, was one of the goriest things I had ever seen. Such cruelty was unnecessary. No one we knew treated animals like that. It was completely sick. I remember my sister asking if the animal was wounded. Coyotes were known to be cannibalistic, but that was only in the most brutal days of winter. We were in early June. The sight was simply morbid. The pups were even formed. It couldn't have taken much more time before they were born. Did the 2 coyotes we saw first find convenient to take advantage of a wounded female mother? After a while, another sound came. A high-pitched, sobbing noise. Someone was crying. A shudder ran down my back. The smell of rotting flesh was close. It couldn't be the dead mama and her pups. The killing was fresh. The whining appeared to belong to a small child. We walked deep inside the property, following the sounds. The closer we got, the more we heard a vague speech. No doubt, a toddler was weeping somewhere, and that was strange. There weren't news of a new baby in the Kenyon family. My sister and I exchanged glances, fearing the worst. We approached a small barn. The building was rustic, built with dark wood. It could only have been used to keep working tools inside. The crying sound changed directions. It was now behind us. I remember grabbing my sister's skirt, uncomfortable. We turned around, and I almost yelled. Next to the barn, an all-black figure was peeking at us. The only reason why no sound left my mouth was because of the shock. My sister was trembling. I could hear her teeth against each other, and her hand grabbed my shoulder. It was female. There was a long skirt with frilly breaks at the higher sections, like a smaller skirt above the big one. I remember seeing that in my grandmother's old photos and portraits. It was what women wore before the wars. Above the skirt, a long dark veil, the blackest object of the whole vision. We were watching something no one was supposed to see. I have difficulty explaining now, and I'll probably never be able to do it well. It was wrong, that's all I can say. It was studying us from the farthest corner of the barn. The silence was terrible, a total absence of birds or rustling leaves. The stretch of rotten meat was stronger now. Then, knocking sounds, the wooden walls of the barn, metallic sounds from the inside, crystal cracking and our yelling next to it. Invisible objects were scraping, knocking, and hitting each other. Something was creating a mess inside the barn. The toddlers' whines and hiccups were more intense now. A cacophony of disarranged sounds took control of everything. Sounds that shouldn't be there. My sister screamed in terror. It was what broke the enchantment. We were too terrified to move, to react, to do anything. My sister turned around, still grabbing me, and we ran. My legs were clumsy, my movements were awkward. It took me great effort to follow her rhythm, but fear makes impossible things. The dark presence looming, the sound of objects crashing against each other, and the child's whines on our backs only made my fear stronger. Both my sister and I were hysterical. The encounter couldn't have lasted more than a minute, but it was dreadful. We scrambled out of the property, crying and trying to remake our way back. We wanted the road, the safety of the road. I remember gagging at the sight of the dead coyote and her pups again. It was completely brutal. The black thing was paranormal, but the coyote and her puppies, it was cruel and real and horrible. My sister and I were yelling, running through the road until a neighbor found us. It took him a lot of time to calm us down, but our insistence only made our claims more real. Whatever it was, the neighbor knew there was something extreme up with the farm. Between chastising us for entering the Kenyans' property without permission and warning us to stay away, the old man let us guide him towards the dead coyote and her pups. He got pale and a contortion formed in his lips at the sight. After that, we began to tell him at the same time about the witch in the barn. He told us to keep quiet and walk back as we told him our history on the way home. I still remember my mom's worried and angry expressions after hearing about what we had done. It was common knowledge that strange stuff happened in those lands, but another thing was to see the witch ourselves. Many neighbors and other adults interviewed us about what had happened, and after that, our parents made us swear to not speak about it with the other children. As an adult, I understand why they wanted us to keep a low profile. Nothing good comes with drawing attention to yourself concerning this sort of dark stuff.